We've reached the end of the first portion of our philosophy class, and this video is a review for the exam on the Know Thyself and Epistemology portion of the class. And to access the class page, simply click on this link and it will take you to the philosophy class page. So whatever you need, it is there. Also, some people like to study with a paper copy. You can take these 13 questions. These are the questions I will ask you verbatim. Nothing will be added, nothing will be taken away. And you can cut and paste it onto a Word doc and do an old-fashioned pencil and paper, or fill it in by typing, or say it out loud if you have this screen in front of you. We all study different, we all learn differently, and these are the questions I will be asking you. Now I'm going to break them down, all 13 of them, one at a time. In question 1, I'm going to ask the 5 branches of philosophy, and briefly, which aspect of thinking does each explore? So epistemology, it's this branch of philosophy that we're doing now. It's the nature of knowledge, its presuppositions, its foundations, extent, and validity. And in a simple way, why do we think what we think? When we make a claim, when we assert ourselves, when we think a certain way, you have to take a moment and ask yourself, how did that thought get there? Why do I think that way? That is epistemology. Aesthetics, what is beauty? What is art? And it's this question, and it doesn't have to be all highbrow. Which is a prettier car? Which piece of music is better? Who's a better composer, Bach or Beethoven, and why do you feel that way? Ethics is what's right and wrong. Oftentimes you see this in politics, and you see these in debates to what is the right way to go about things, what is the wrong way. And let's be honest, we don't always agree, but that is what ethics fundamentally is. And then logic, it's the principles of validity and finding patterns in our thinking. It's reasoning, almost mathematical in nature, and that's the 4th area. And then metaphysics, the very deep, profound questions, the existence of a soul and the afterlife and time and space. So these are the 5 basic ways of thinking in philosophy. Now, some people include politics into the list of philosophical schools of thought. Some put it ontology into it. For our purposes, we're going to keep it to 5, okay? So these are the 5 areas of philosophy we're going to be learning about. Number 2, what is the literal meaning of the word philosophy? It means love of wisdom. I even named my daughter Sophia because of this, wisdom. And it is a part of the social sciences. History, economics, government, psychology. The class, I've had students get confused because they think they're taking psychology and they say, hey, what's philosophy? So hopefully that's not you, and if it is, welcome to philosophy. Law, sociology, theology, and civics. So these are some of the social sciences you've been exposed to, but philosophy permeates all of these. So if you look at the decisions in history, historical figures have had a philosophy when they move forward. Economics, which type of economic system is best? On very extreme examples, laissez-faire capitalism versus communism. Government policy is rooted in philosophy. Psychology, the behavior of the individual oftentimes is interconnected with philosophy. Law, legal philosophy. Sociology, the behavior in groups. Groups possess a philosophy. Theology, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, philosophical differences within those traditions, civics. So it literally means love of wisdom, and it does permeate all of the social sciences. Now, question 3 are, what are the 2 words at the foundation of Western philosophy? And it's my advice to you as well. This is an easy one. Know thyself. And I think that's a big part of high schools to figure that out. I don't expect anybody to truly know themselves by the time you graduate. More power to you if you can do that. But it's a process to truly and genuinely know thyself. And it's the root of Western philosophy. And that's what this class is about. Now, speaking of the fact, the difference between Western and Eastern philosophy. Now, I did consider at one time having 2 portions of the class, an Eastern portion and a Western portion. And then I realized I wasn't doing justice to either side. So I kept this class as a Western. But the Eastern tradition is as rich, if not more rich, philosophically than the West. So please don't feel it's anything but a fact of time that I'm only doing one. So in the East, it's more of a universal harmony and interconnectedness, being able to adapt to external change, where the West is much more focused on the individual and the accumulation of knowledge and this master and control kind of paradigm. So very different. So the classic people in the West would be Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, the Immanuel Kant, Descartes, for people from Greece and Germany and England and the Enlightenment, the Eastern philosophers would be, those of, the Upanishads in India and the Art of War and the Book of the Five Rings. And we're talking geographically speaking, the East, India, China, Japan. So there is a fundamental difference between the two. Now, question number 5 are the 6 questions of Socrates. What are their significance? And this is just to get our feet wet philosophically. So these questions: what is virtue? What is courage? What is justice? What is piety? What is moderation? What is good? It's almost like jazz music. This is a pretty good backbeat, and you can add the notes to however you want. There's many, many questions that can be asked from this. But again, Socratic method is you add questions. So if you make a question, I'll give you a question back, and hopefully that will illuminate your truth and your enlightenment. And we did that exercise. And again, the foundation of Western philosophy: Socrates, who taught Plato, who taught Aristotle, Spa. So we started off with Socrates. And then we learned about Will Durant. Now, Will Durant is my favorite philosopher. And he asked this fundamental question: what is wisdom? It's an epistemological question. And whether you agree or disagree, Durant said it's a total perspective. It's having the broad perspective where you see all of the moving parts into one whole, not being myopic and looking at one section. To truly love wisdom, he said it's better to desire than possess, always seeking that wisdom and self-improvement of your mind, and taking lessons from those who came before us. As he said, invite the greats into your home. So learn from those who came before us and incarnate what they did best, and that is a form of wisdom. So that was from the Durant article. Again, just getting our feet wet with philosophy. Question 7, Plato's Allegory of the Cave. This is to philosophy what Christopher Columbus is to a world history class. Very bread and butter, and it's an allegory. People are chained to in a cave. There's a parapet above them and a fire. So all they see are these shadows, these kind of grotesque images against the wall, but they don't know any better. And the story goes, one person is allowed to get out. They see the reality of the world for what it is. They run back in to tell the friends that are still chained up, and they can't even comprehend it because they have never seen the reality. So here's the question: what applications from your lives can we make of it? I think we can see a lot of these sort of things. So what are the chains? Is school the chains? Is the home front the change? Is it a way of thinking are the chains? What is the light? Where does enlightenment come from? Why can't you get it across to people? So we talked enough about that in class. I'll let you do your thing. If you are interested, the movie The Truman Show is a movie based upon Plato's Allegory of the Cave. And I didn't show it due to time, but it's a fantastic movie to check that one out. Question 8, cognitive biases. Now, which of the 20 I showed you do you possess the most? Okay, can anything be done to lessen these? And we had a good lesson that day where we were seeing all these different biases. And you got to ask yourself, how do they get there? Why are they in people's minds? What can be done to lessen these? So I made this more of a personal nature, and I continue to make it a personal nature. But look at yourself. Which of these biases do you have that aren't healthy, that maybe can be improved upon? So revisit that for the exam. Question 9, Descartes Cogito. I think, therefore I am. Now, for Descartes, who's one of the founders of Western civilization, he said even if a demon, and the Descartes demon, is trying to trick him into thinking that he exists, when in fact he doesn't, he would have to exist in order for the demon to deceive him. Therefore, I think, therefore I am. And it's a question, or it's a statement to say, this is how I know that I truly exist. Now, we talked about a couple other things, the brain in a vat. How can we prove we're not a brain in a vat? And then we talked about Nozick's experience machine, and we'll get into a little more detail for the next question. And again, another Hollywood movie related to the philosophy, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Total Recall, whereas he would say, Schwarzenegger's Total Recall. Yeah, okay, so it's a good flick to check out if you like this concept. And then we went into Nozick's experience machine, and here's the question. If you could plug into an experience machine to alter your reality, would you do it? What if it was permanent? What if it was for a short time? What would you plug in? If you did put all these fantastic experiences into your consciousness and you go back to reality, Won't it be a letdown? Lots of questions here. I don't have a lot of answers, but lots of questions. And how does it apply to real life? Altered states, dream states, narcotic states. What is the nature of reality? What is consciousness? What is real? What are the parameters to what is real? And here is Nozick's triple Venn. Experience, what we feel, identity, who we are, legacy, what we do, and then in the middle is existence. So again, more of an opinion question, but I'm curious to see what you write. Show me that you've learned something. Question number 11. What was the story of the Ship of Theseus? How does it apply to your life? Now, Theseus paradox is there's a ship, the Ship of Theseus, and every year they take board off and replace it. Now, when they throw the old board off, there's a ship that follows it and keeps them. And over time, they take those boards, and every year they add a board. And let's say the ship has 50 boards, and the ship behind it for 50 years followed it and reconfigured the boat. What's the true Ship of Theseus? And again, you can hurt your brain thinking about this, but what is real? And how does it apply to your life? What is you? If you are the Ship of Theseus, what is your real ship? Now, I'm a lot older than you. Now, if I take these increments of 7 years, which one's the real me? Which one's the authentic me? Which one's not? Are they all authentic? How do we know it's authentic? So little kid, football, Michigan State, single with my dog, school teacher, father. What's the real me? And that's the question I'm going to ask you. What's the real you? How does the Ship of Theseus apply to you? And again, show me your thinking or your ability to think. Number 12, who was Alan Turing? Now, I understand Turing wouldn't be a philosopher per se, but I think he's a person that we need to know, especially in this day and age of technology. In this age of artificial intelligence, you can trace it back to Alan Turing. Now, Alan Turing, one of my personal heroes, conceived artificial intelligence way before other people. And he was a math genius of the highest order. In fact, he created this machine here, the Turing bomb, which stopped this Enigma encryption machine the Nazis were using during World War II. Thought to be impossible to break, he broke it. So he might have saved tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives in aiding the Allies over the Nazis. But unfortunately, at the time, it was illegal to be a homosexual in England, and he got caught, and he was put under chemical castration for probation, and it made him very, very depressed. And he wound up taking an apple laced with cyanide and eating it. So one of the greatest minds, one of the greatest heroes, I think, of the 20th century, committed suicide. Now, there's a myth, whether it's substantiated or not. Steve Jobs isn't with us anymore, but a lot of people say the Apple logo was inspired by Turing. And Steve Jobs, who pushed Turing's vision into the 21st century, into reality, they say may have tipped the hat to the Apple logo to him. But again, it hasn't been substantiated, but food for thought. And in terms of artificial intelligence, what separates our thinking from that of a computer, if anything? What are the philosophical issues associated with artificial intelligence? I'm going to end with this one because it's a good way to flex your philosophical muscle, and not a bad way to end our epistemology unit. The branch of philosophy that studies the nature of knowledge and its presuppositions. So whatever presuppositions you have regarding intelligence and thinking, you're going to have to question those. What are the foundations, and how valid are your statements when you are arguing this point? All right, so this ends the first part of class. I'm looking forward to aesthetics ahead, and I hope I have nothing but A's when I grade these. So thank you for watching.